Hello and welcome back to our live beginnings and always. We were continuing off from a moment select. So, I believe this is the moments you can choose from. So, how about we go for Fireflies? I think Cove will enjoy that.
Alright!
Tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be tons of them around. Oh, you are you? Yeah, I'm probably going to eat faster because that's what I would do. You started eating faster. A grin curved your lips as you started to eat a bit faster, excited for what was to come. It seemed like you were too excited, however, as you started to choke and cough on your food from shoveling it down so quickly. Mummy reached over to pat you on the back, firmly helping you to dislodge the noodles and enable you to breathe again. You took a big gulp of water from your glass, giving your mums a sheepish look. Oops.
That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Galaxy?
Silo tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mum had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally, she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your mums know she'd be late. You didn't hear why, probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Silo for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your mums to agree.
Well,
it's already dark out. Lizzie gave Mum the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response.
There.
Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, when Mum eventually sighed and nodded back.
yes!
Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw up your arms in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full.
Fine.
Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay?
Duh.
Mum? That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you with the fairies from bedtime stories Mummy read sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right. If someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Mum said it like a joke, but you knew they were both telling you kids to slow down. Silo did immediately. When he glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth.
Jeez.
No one's gonna die. Sheesh. A knock at the door interrupted Mum before she could no doubt scold your sister.
I'll get it!
Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was.
Huh?
You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mummy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Silo's floppy hat. Cove! Jin! Trying to get to the door quickly enough nearly resulted in your mummy being knocked over. You sent her a sheepish smile, linking your fingers behind your back before focusing your attention on Cove. What are you doing here? A smile placed across Cove's face before you could tell he wanted to laugh. Your eyes met for only a second before he looked away. Then, for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mummy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off. 'Cause I guess he borrowed it from you? Cove took a familiar screwdriver from the large side pocket. His eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved.
Great, thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mom stood from the table. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him.
Hi. Hi, Cove.
Silo gave Cove a friendly smile by waving, and while waving, by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Ooh. We should invite him, really, because I think he would enjoy that. Should we ask him? Or you could come out? I think he would enjoy being with us. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. She huffed while you poked your tongue out at her, placing her hands on her hips and annoying. You should come with us. We'll have a great time.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. Never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when we first moved in, so there must not be any where he used to live.
We can't go until after dinner.
After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to her table, took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your meal with your own stuff as well. Finish up with your own stuff. Oh my word. You decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Food. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier.
What did you have?
Eggs. The clipped, one-word answer seemed to discourage Silo from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you could stay with us a little while if you like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun. This would be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far.
It's fine, Mom.
Silo trailed so closely after Lizzie, he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Come on, let's go. After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Silo. By the time you walked outside, you pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up! You're so slow, Jin. We don't have all night.
You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. Okay. Don't want to tug him. I'd rather walk with him, I think. Take the time. You fall behind purposefully, knocking your elbows against his and giving him a big smile. Don't worry, you're gonna love it. And we can catch our own fireflies. We don't have to worry about Silo and Lizzie. Cove glanced over at you, allowing you a soft nod with a strange look on his face. What is it? Nothing. Oh, look at that blush. Ooh, pretty. By the time you two reached the hill, Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Silo was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle. Bright winking lights floated like buoys on a wave. One drifted close enough for you to see the firefly at the center of the glow, and you looked at Cove, excited to see his reaction. He looked just as entranced.
Wow.
Silo took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill.
Hi, guys. It's really great out, huh? See how many there are?
Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Now I don't watch this shit. What should we do? I don't want to giggle at him. We'll giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What?
Oh, look. Lizzie has one. That's amazing.
Silo ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of fireflies sailing around. The game was on. Oh, I've got a bandage somewhere. Okay. I could have a bandage on my thumb, a bandage on my palm, 2 bandages, or not getting cuts or scratches. Go 1 bandage. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make you seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept towards it. Arms outstretched, you closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landing on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clasp his hands around the firefly. Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. Should we encourage him? Oh, I guess we should show him what we've got.
Look over here. I got one. Come see.
Cove gave one more look in the direction of his lost prize before coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly on top of the ones you were holding open. It tinkled. You gonna stay still? The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shining treasure off. I got a wee bandage. It's so cute. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped, "Oh, it's so cute!" It worked.
Yeah, you got one.
Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile. His eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Jin. Your eyes and his locked together while still holding hands. He suddenly pulled away. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. The firefly has gone.
Sorry.
I'm not going to scold him or tear up. Okay, we're going to forgive him because that just seems like a bratty child, and that's just crybaby. That's okay. I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. Ooh, he wants to get more, so yeah, we'll go get more. We can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With renewed vigor, you ran out into the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. Dude, you have toes. Count your toes. You were having the time of your life racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. Jin, this way! You followed the sound of Ko's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms out in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns in trying to scare the fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly and listening alternatively before trying himself. Oh, he listened. There were a few more times where you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was overall a huge success, with the both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out and your energy started to lapse. You then decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily and his face seemed really flushed. That was a lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Jin, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race.
The shouting caught you off guard. It had been a while since you heard from Lizzie or Silo. You glanced over to see them both standing at the top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race.
Hi.
Go!
Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As he pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What?
Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee. But it was already decided. Should we go along with Lizzie and Silo, or stay with Cove? Or do something else? I'm gonna do something else.
What?
You didn't feel much like racing. You told Lily the very same thing, and she wrinkled her nose at you.
But the race is always better with more people. I want you to play too.
Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air.
Fine, I'll be the winner, whether you join or not.
Lizzie moved to lay down, and Silo did the same.
Bye.
Bye. You turned and wandered back to the side of the hill, deciding how to spend your time. Your plan was to... It's rubbish. No, we've already done a lot of fireflies. You could sit and watch the ocean or stargaze. Let's do stargaze. We might see a shooting star or something. You laid back in the grass, watching the stars blinking in the sky, almost as brightly as the fireflies that were crossing your vision. The sky was so huge, you wondered about all the names of the stars up there. One day, you would learn them all. You remembered the time when you had once looked through a telescope in a friend's backyard. It was great being able to get a closer look at everything up there. And you hadn't even caught a glimpse of Mars. Oh, you had. You had even caught a glimpse of Mars. Though it mostly just looked like a red-coloured star. You yawned loudly and let your eyes close. It had been a long day, and the grass beneath you was so comfortable and soft. You didn't know how long you laid there before you heard the sound of shuffling feet and Lizzie's voice calling out to you.
Jen, time to go home.
Your head perked up at the sound of your name, and you followed it over to Lizzie, sad that the night was over so soon. Oh, Did Cove not join us? That's a bit of a shame. It had gotten late, and it was beginning to feel a bit chilly as you made your way over the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together, side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most fireflies didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you had a good time, which, judging by the smile on everyone's faces, you did. Okay, so that was a firefly moment. I guess we can do all of them, it doesn't really matter. Oh, so you can do all these moments and then end summer, but I guess that affects your relationship with Cove, which is kind of interesting. I might look at possibly getting the DLCs. I'll have a look how much they are. I've seen a couple of expansions. I think they were £2 odd. So we'll have a look. But yeah, thanks for joining us on the Fireflies moment, and I will post the next moment again soon. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye.